metro and the shuttle bus service from Nomismatokopio are not affected, and they are hopefully right on schedule. Furthermore, a couple of other things about today's presentations. We have changed the rooms from 607 to 701. And room 609, all the presentations from 609 will go to 702. Okay, well, thank you for that. We'll change the website then according to what they have downstairs. Thank you. Okay, another thing I would like to mention before Maria comes is the launch of the website, the microsite for the 39th convention. It's in the developing stages. At some point, we will add more information. Okay. We have all the information about the plenary speakers. But most importantly, we have the call for participation, which has been running for quite some time now. And you can access it from this page. As you may know, the theme of our convention is about creativity. So we would like to invite proposals if you have done something creative in your context and you would like to share. I think you still have about 20 to 25 days. 21 days to submit your proposal. More information will follow soon on this website, and you can find a link to this on the TESOL Greece website as well. And now I would like to call on our Vice Chair, Maria Makra, who will introduce our next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, I don't do well with microphones, but that's all right. Good morning to all of you. I'm so happy to see you here despite the tour of Athens. It seems that every Sunday we are running around in this country. Anyway, when I first got in the board of directors, I was asked to introduce in a start of a year symposium Dr. Eleni Livaniou. I was in awe because I knew who she was. I still am. So, PhD in educational psychology, master in psychology, over 30 years of work in the UK, many, many more things I could tell you and take some of her time, which I don't want to. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Eleni Livaniou.
Thank you. This goes back easily. Good morning. Thank you for being here today. I'm very pleased that we have problems with technology today, because it just shows you if you are not prepared properly to introduce a lesson, that's what's happening. Furthermore, I didn't like the fact that the screen is divided into 4. I found it very disorientating. I didn't know where to look. So, you know, children with learning difficulties, with different kinds of cognitive processes, you might have to think about such things before you start to embark on using everything that technology. Αυτό έφυγε από εδώ. Όχι, να το εδώ είναι. Μήπως ξαναμπώ. Okay. There. So, trying to bring together the inevitability of electronic age resources and the social emotional needs of children and teenagers. As you can see, it's extremely difficult to know from where to start. Social emotional is a different thing. ICT is a different thing. Teaching is a different thing. And today's word is even more complex than we have ever thought. So today, the internet and social networking, it's used to enhance quite a lot in terms of emotional, not only learning, but how the child develops. So it has to do with the identity of the child, it has to do with friendship, it has to do with connecting with friends, with family, with whoever you would like. I like the fact of creative expression because lots of, especially teenagers, they like disguise, they like putting up faces and doing things, and they don't have anybody to show it to, because you can imagine a child, that draws something and he shows it to his mom and she says, oh yes, okay, did you brush your teeth? So it's different if I put it up and everybody sees it. Now it's changing on its own, as you have realized. Social and emotional learning is the process through which children acquire and apply the knowledge, the attitudes, the skills in order to be able to manage. And the next step is to be able to make contact with other children, with other people. So it has to do with feelings, with empathy. I mean, this is what we are talking about when we are talking about social emotional, because the social has to do a lot with emotion and vice versa. So we have to establish, the term of emotional intelligence when it comes to empathy and perspective taking, that it's not only my perspective, but you also have to see somebody else's. I mean, what I said to the specialist technician here today is that why you are discriminating the Apple, appliances? And he said, it's not us, it's them, because they don't want to change. So, it's something that we have to take on board when we think about who do we put in and why. And when it comes to teaching and education and socialization, you cannot discriminate on any basis. You have to put everything in. And then we come to information and technology. I think this moves faster than I do. So I don't know whether it's the new thing that I'm being plugged in. So information and communications technology, it's an extended term for information technology which fuses in all kinds of communications, telecommunication, and of course computers, the internet, all the apps, the software, and of course the teacher. And what we have to know is we as educators, we have to walk the very thin line between the potential positive and the potential negative of whatever the outcome is in using, ICT in our classrooms, because this is something we have to think about. It's not easy. We think it's easy, but it isn't. It took us about 20 minutes to plug these things in. So why do we think it's easy? So it's time to see things differently. I don't like the fact that this thing has a mind of its own. I mean, I'm strong-minded, and I don't like anybody else, thinking the way I do. So, end show. Start afresh. Sorry about that. Okay, it's time to see things differently. It's time we embrace and understand the uncertainty of the electronic age. I like the term uncertainty because everything around us, the way our brain has been put up, the way it has been wired, it's really to solve uncertainties. You walk at night in the street and you see a shadow and you think, now, what this is? I mean, what is it? Is it a man? Is it somebody, you know, who's trying to attack me, and you just make your mind up there and then, am I going on or am I going back? I mean, this is always happening in our lives. We really don't know what is going to happen. When I was coming here this morning, I thought, my God, dearie, they will have everything about Apple. They didn't have anything about Apple. So that was the uncertainty. So it wasn't there. I had it all of a sudden. But you see things, you have a very good helper there. I mean, he was the one who had the brains and said what we should do. So the other side of the story, it's again changing on its own. We are going to finish in about 20 minutes. The other side of the story, however, sees things differently. What does it mean? That parents and educators, they are getting really, really concerned about the fact that online virtual self-reflection is now expanding in everything. And children are... You are telling me? Electronic age. It's a battle now between humans and electronics. They have their own minds now. We've made them so clever. We can keep our fingers crossed. Anybody's praying here? I mean, we can use all sorts of approaches. Okay. So we have this, you know, false projection of whatever goes on in the world now through, you know, the glass screen. I mean, children really, they tell you, oh yes, I know, I've seen it on my iPad or on, you know, on my tablet. Oh no, I don't want you to tell me because I've seen it, I've read it. And you think, yeah, but I want to give you, you know, some more details, you know, vivid, because I've been there, I've seen it. And they just brush you away because that tablet, that screen has become reality for them, so they don't want to listen to you. I mean, I've seen children in classrooms where the teacher is talking and they're Googling whatever she's talking about, as if she's not there, because they want to double check. And the other thing is, I don't trust you. I'm used to the glass screen. So this is a new era. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but it's there, or we are getting there. John Monbiot, I mean, I think this must be about a week ago in Guardian. He's a reporter. What he wrote is that we are separated from the world by a level of glass screen. What is happening now is that, you know, we are not really, we cannot, or the children cannot understand what it really means, you know, being destitute, being in a war, having children killed, having children becoming, you know, warlords, having guns, killing people. I mean, the electronic age has made us lose that kind of reference point with reality. I mean, most of the time I ask children, have you been to see those children that they have been left, you know, without any parents, or they were put on a boat and they were sent over to Greece, and now they're young and they have nobody? Have you been there to see them? And they say, oh yeah, I've seen, I mean, that's the discussion I'm having with teenagers. And that's the reaction. Oh yeah, oh, they're quite good. I mean, they have food, they've got games, people are giving them stuff, everything is fine. So, you know, what's new? So, you have the one side saying, oh yes, glass screen doesn't help children. But then on the other hand, in 2011, the American Academy of Pediatrics Council, and they haven't changed, and they're right, I agree with them, the impact of social media on children, adolescents, and families. And what they say, it's very helpful. It helps people to communicate. It builds social skills. It helps especially adolescents that they are feeling on their own, that they are feeling they have nobody there. They cannot share anything with. So using the media, the social media, helps them. So they encourage parents to let their children use it. That was in 2011. Now they are talking, please hold them back, because they are all becoming addicted. So why they were saying that? Because young people are doing what they have always been doing, trying to get to know the word, trying to know, to socialize, to investigate, to discover themselves, to try on different identities. I mean, I have a 13-year-old who's saying she's 30, and she's flirting with people, and she was telling me that she has about, I don't know, 1,000 likes from men. So this is scary, but she can do it, and she's playing with it, and she's happy. She doesn't know how dangerous it is, though, and her parents haven't got a clue. So social media today benefits children and adolescents by enhancing that kind of communication. I mean, I think they're addressing more people that they are on the social cognition deficit or disorder spectrum. Because normal people can socialize, you know, by going to have a drink with somebody, having coffee in a cafeteria. You don't have to have this media in order to socialize. So it's people that they are, you know, shy, withdrawn, depressive. Facebook offers multiple, you know, daily opportunities. I have the granny, she's about 89 years old, and she discovered her friend in Canada, who's also still alive, she's 91, and her youngest sister in England, and they are talking daily, and they are even fighting over recipes. So that's fantastic, because it keeps them alive. So in some respect, yes, Facebook has helped a lot. All these media have helped a lot. Offers opportunities for the development of social emotional skills, yes, because now I can share experiences with you. I can share, you know, the fact that I was dumped by my boyfriend, the fact that I had a quarrel with my mother, and I want to leave home. And immediately she has all these, you know, friends rushing in and saying, oh yes, she's the bitch. I should tell you what my mother did to me. So they are sharing everything. And also they are sharing the happy moments. I mean, this summer everybody was, you know, with a photo, with selfies, and immediately they were sending them everywhere. So this is something which shows that, you know, I want to share this happy moment with such and such people. But more than anything else, I think the media has helped immensely. Children on the social cognition deficit spectrum, it has helped children that they are isolated for one reason or another, children that they are shy, children with learning difficulties, children with low self-esteem and low self-confidence, that they cannot really face what is happening on real time and with real, you know, people. So I would borrow Paulo Freire's term when I'm talking about. I mean, Paulo Freire, I don't know you. I don't think you know him. He died in 1997. We did a lot about him at the university. He's a Brazilian philosopher and educator and a critical pedagogist. And the way he was presenting education, trying to put everything in, he was saying that, you know, in order to introduce real learning, you have to bring, you know, the whole universe into your classroom. And this is true. So bringing, you know, information technology and teaching, it's an intrinsically emancipating experience for the children and the teacher if he knows how to do his job properly. We need training in order to teach using these appliances. It's not easy. And we need specialist training in order to do it. Or as Jill Val Lovera and Fellow in 2010, I found this, they put everything in a nutshell, that the use of ICT is part of our daily lives, and it's intrinsically really linked to people of all ages. I mean, I have the 1.5-year-old, and the mum is saying to me, oh yes, she talks to her dad every morning on Skype, and they're having breakfast together. He's in Dubai, they are here, she's only 1.5 years, and she loves that morning session on Skype. So it's amazing. And you have all ages people. So the emotional environment, social emotional, has become really very important in our lives. Not that it has never been, it was always there. But now you can enrich it because you can reach out to many more people. That's how we have become. I like that because this is the truth of it. Everybody is looking for his telephone. Everybody is looking for his pad. I mean, before we used to say, I can't go out without my keys. Now it's my telephone. So, ICT has introduced a new code of practice in terms of communication at all levels. And education and our classrooms, it's something that it's coming in very powerfully. And I'm really terrified because I haven't heard a single teacher telling me that I had, specialist training in how to do it. And it's dangerous because children know much more than their teachers. And then it comes to that question. We have to put it on in our classroom because now you ask children, I want you to learn this passage by heart. And of course, that's what they come up with. Why bother remember it? And they are right. Because on the one hand, we are telling them, why don't you Google it? Why are you asking? And you know what a 16-year-old turned and said to me, you old ones, you can't remember anything. You have to rely on the Google. My father doesn't even remember when is my mother's birthday. So he has to put, his mobile to remind him of all our, festivities and whatever, and anniversaries. So you can't remember. So why don't you Google it? So, that's why we have to have the specialist training on how to address children when they come up with such questions. And of course, teaching methods. All the research findings, very, very few have concentrated in real classrooms. I've been through everything, believe me. And it's all done in labs. Or they are bringing children into the labs. When I was doing my research at Sussex, 1,000 years ago, we used to bring, we had about 2,000 children for attention deficit, and they were all, brought up in the university. I never went into the classrooms. It's afterwards that I decided, my God, what am I doing? I have to see them there and then what is happening. I can't do it, in a lab, and then come out and say, these are my findings. So students in the classroom, that's what the researchers know. They have to remember facts, but they also have to know how to apply them. So research concentrates on efforts how to enhance cognitive processes like memory, like staying on task, like how you can strengthen or enhance fluid thinking, which means not thinking on a straight line, but taking everything in, and mentally track and juggle information. But there's a catch. Okay. Will these methods work in a classroom of 25 or 30 kids? And varying abilities. Every time I turn to read on the screen, I'm distracted because of the way the screen is divided into 4. I don't know whether it's the same for you. So, moving from the lab to classroom, with its disruptions and distractions, a teacher have to pin down really and filter out what works in my classroom, with my lot, under what condition, and for whom. Because what terrifies me is the fact that teachers come up and say, oh, I downloaded a fantastic approach. It's so good. Have you tried it on your own? See whether you like it? You are addressing who if you are using that kind of approach? And for how long? And what's your aim? These are issues we have to take on board. So, all these researchers, they have decided, okay, you are telling us you want to strengthen memory, you want to strengthen concentration span, you have to strengthen, ways of thinking. Okay, which is the best way? What are, kids doing today? They love games, video games. So, shall we use them instead of teaching? So, they are concentrating on executive functions. What are they, the executive functions? They are all these processes that finish up becoming, specific skills that they are helping us organize, manage, plan, problem solve. Now, executive functions, and when it comes to learning, they are also wired up and connected with other parts of the brain which involve emotions and stress. So when I'm thinking about teaching, when I'm thinking about classroom, I'm not only thinking about, oh, how best they are going to memorize, oh, how best I'm going to make them concentrate. I have to think about emotions and have to think about how stressful my classroom is. What have I done to make that happen? So scientists have conducted the studies to determine whether executive functions, particularly working memory, because this is the most important, aspect of cognitive processes that we are interested in a classroom. And what they have discovered is that video games might help, not definitely help, might help some children. Okay? And you see all the research findings. The oldest, it's 2016. Because when I went through the old articles that I had, they are not applicable anymore because things have changed. As we speak, things are changing. So there's a strong evidence that well-designed video games that utilize distinctive mechanics may offer different benefits, targeting specific executive functions, such as shifting attention and avoiding distractions. Now, again, I'm talking about children that need it, because children on the autism spectrum, they have the greatest difficulty is shifting their attention. Children with ADHD, the problem is avoiding distractions. So what they are trying to find out is, what kind of games should I use for this particular population? Because other kids, they have no problems with shifting attention and avoiding distractions. So they are very, very quickly becoming, the hot topic in cognitive training, using video games. I've been in a classroom in Sweden in 2013 where all kids were playing a video game. And the teacher said to me, it's helping them for sequencing their ideas. And they used music, color, words, shapes, stories. And they were done in such a sequence. And what they were saying to me, because when I first looked at the game, at the video game, I thought, that's, very confusing. How can you? And she said to me, we are trying really to enhance different parts of the brain with different memories. Because color is different part of the brain. Shape is a different part of the brain. Number is a different part of the brain. So if we put everything together, language and so on, so if we put everything, all of these together, in a story, a child will be able to remember better. But then when I asked, yes, but then you give them a book that has nothing of all this. Even, you know, an e-book, which is just a page. How is this going to help them on this, you know, sequencing? And she said this, we are just waiting to see if it works. Okay. So video game is something, you know, it's here to stay, whether we like it or not, that is. Executive functions tend to get better the more we practice them. Okay, that's why we start schooling with memorizing things. That's why even at nursery level, you have children memorizing, you know, the big questions are how much better and what kind of practice do we need to give children in order to help with executive functions. When researchers use video games as a tool for cognitive enhancement, what they think is that, okay, we have all these cognitive processes and we are sure that some of them, they are going to be activated so that the child can play that video game, but they don't know which. I mean, that's what the teacher in Sweden was really telling me. We don't know what and how this thing is going to help. We are just trying it out. So it's very hazy and nothing is clear about that, you know, the kind of whether brain, game and cognition really could be put in on a line and helped in that specific way. It's not easy. And it's not clear either from any of the research findings. And we need the longitudinal data in order to find out if we start from very young, would we have any kind of better results? I mean, will the games be long-term if a child starts working on a video game that involves memory or staying on task? We still haven't got any such finding because it's early days. And then we have to pay very close attention to very specific issues which involve the emotion. That's why genuine increase in ability are only likely to come through with sustained effort. How you are going to have a sustained effort if a child finds whatever you have given him tedious and boring? So we have to involve emotion. Ongoing practice and persistence. So in things that the child really has taken on board that, yes, this matters to me and I want to do it. And this is our job, you know, as teachers. You know, darling, I want you to do this for about 5 minutes. Oh, it's so good for you. We have to be there all the time. Blended learning. I love this one. I mean, it's, you see, it's only November 2017, and it's on the Educational Research Review. Blended learning brings together different kinds of schools of thought and different philosophies. I liked it because this is what should be going on in our classrooms at all time. The design of blended learning environment brings with it 4 key challenges. The first one is incorporating flexibility. Now here, it's where I put, okay, the electronics, the appliances, the mobiles, the WhatsApps, the everything. Flexibility in what way? Okay, we haven't got any kind of Apple appliances. We don't know how to wire everything in. I'm closing everything. I'm giving you the lecture, you know, live. Nothing there. I was prepared for that as well, just in case. I have to be prepared to do all such things in the classroom, and I have to be flexible, otherwise I'm not a teacher. So flexibility in using and interchanging between one method and the other It's of paramount importance. Stimulating interaction. You cannot stimulate interaction using mobiles and using the computers. It's only if you do it lively. It's only if you do it in a classroom setting. Because you have to show them how. How many of you have, teenage boys, especially boys? Good luck to you. Now, my boys were coming up to me when they were teenagers and asking me, I'm going out with Anna. What shall I tell her? Why? Because until then, they didn't have any experience of how I can approach a young girl that I love, that I like, that I want to have, make love with. I mean, they wouldn't say that. But this is what they were thinking about. They didn't know, and they were asking, please give me, show me. Now, if we sit, shall I hold her hand? Again. Well, I don't know where you are going and how close you are going to sit. I mean, I can't tell you. But these are the questions. So you cannot really stimulate interaction from a class. You have to do it lively. I mean, I have people that they say to me, oh, I would rather, come all the way from the islands to Athens, but I can't do it on Skype. I have to look at you live. So, it's something you can either, even a teenager said to his mom, no, I can't do Skype. I can do it, with my friends. I can't do it with Livanil. So, we are still humans. Thank God for that. So, facilitating students' learning process. How you are going to facilitate it if you are not there? If you don't realize what's happening? If you don't see that he's stuck? Or all of a sudden, there is an ad going through the screen, and I have to stop it. So I have to be there at all times. What is happening with a child that has slow processing speed? I saw a child, it's now about the beginning of the year, that he was very slow in reading the instructions which they have sent from school. And he was asking his mom, could you please read it out to me, please? So again, he needed his mom. And the school was proposing, we are doing all this so that parents don't get involved with the children. Has the teacher taken on board the fact that in his classroom, about 12 to 15%, these are not my percentages, it's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the latest one. They are talking about 12 to 15% of school children with learning difficulties. So, do I know what is happening with that child? And that's the affective learning environment, showing that I care, showing that I'm here, explaining to you what is happening and why, and don't write it, let's use the computer. Don't bother. Okay, your handwriting, it's not good. I would like you to write it on the computer or on your mobile, and then you can, SMS it to me. These are the kinds, that you have to be there and then in order to find out what is happening. That is fantastic because about a year ago, not even a year ago, in the Times magazine, there was a research finding which they did in university-aged children. And what they did, not children anymore anyway, at the university, during lecture time, they asked students whether they are taking notes, writing on their mobiles or their, tablets, or whether they were handwriting. Don't forget that we are talking about young people that they are about from 18 to 22. Okay? And what they discovered was the people that they were handwriting, they could remember much better the lecture. And then I discovered this research finding, which is 2016. What they did was they gave children, these were younger, much younger ones, they gave them books, proper books, and e-books. And they said to them, okay, read, but I want you, I want to find out which is the best way for you to remember. So they gave them some pads and again handwriting. What they discovered, they could remember 50% more information than any other child, the ones that they were writing. Why? Because our brains are neurologically wired in such a way that the one side, the one area, gets it strengthens by having the other one working as hard. Because when you are writing, you are putting an effort. When you are reading, you are putting an effort. All your brain is working while you are writing, because you are keeping not an eye, an ear as well on what the teacher is talking about or what you have just read and whether you understood it properly. And they also discovered that in handwriting, they were even crossing out and rewriting, not copying. So they were translating what they read in their own language system. So we have to take that on board. So the findings of this design show that social interaction is often encouraged only during an in-class meeting, only, live. Online learning environment is good to monitor students' learning. Okay, how much you have read, how far have you gone? But of course, when you are dealing with blended learning, you have to take on board the instructional activities that foster affective learning. What do we mean by that? That the child that is slow, the child that is very destructive. I mean, I have heard children talking about the fact that in our schools nowadays in Greece, that they are working a lot with computers, that they are working a lot with getting all the information through their mobiles or in their emails. What they were saying is, oh, while I'm downloading my emails, I get distracted with all the other emails. So you either have to, introduce with special appliances that it's the mother, the school, the father, the teacher. So the child is not getting distracted. But then how is he going to work online? I mean, these are issues that we have to think about. 3 domains of learning when it comes to teachers' strategies and blended learning. The cognitive, the thinking. Why? Because everything has to do with thoughts. Everything. Everything. If you are getting depressed, it's because you have negative thoughts. If you are extremely happy, it's because you think everything is beautiful. You see your child, he's really ugly, but you think it's the most beautiful. I mean, I saw a mother the other day. I mean, his ears, they were like this. Very thin face, really ugly. And she said to me, isn't he adorable? I mean, I can't stand it. I just feel right now, taking him in my arms. And I said, feelings of love, of endless, acceptance of, yes, he's beautiful. Because this is the emotion. So we have to think in a way in order to be able to do anything. We have to structure our thoughts in a certain way. Affective emotions. I can't go into a classroom and show no emotions. They tried it up in the States at the University of, I can't remember, or Columbia, Cornwall, can't remember. Something starting with C. And they had a robot in the classroom. It took the children about a fortnight to find out how it's walking. Some of them, they were touching it and see whether it's going to turn. 10 minutes left, okay. Psychomotor, okay. We have to introduce movement in whatever we are doing. It's very, very important. We shouldn't forget that everybody, if you have access to university libraries and articles, then please try to find out what is happening now with activities, physical activities and training, physical training, which would further be divided into metacognitive regulation. What does it mean? In a nutshell, what I was telling you until now, focusing on thinking skills, developing a culture of inquiry, using electronic appliances, supporting inquiry discourse, because children have to see the reflection of their own thoughts and have to see the other perspectives, and through it, have a discussion about it, and promoting an affective learning environment. Why? Because exchanging ideas produces feelings and emotions. I might feel, cross because you don't agree with me. Conceptual regulation, providing all the information for these concepts that we have to learn, that all the next theory that we are going to do, it's really based on these concepts. And children learn how to focus, because this is what we are doing, this is what we have to do. And you show them how to do it, live, in the classroom. And of course the social regulation, because we have to bridge, the weak and the strong ones. Organizing student learning in groups, finding out who can do what and how. Focusing on collaboration processes. Oh, I would leave this, and I like this one very much. Now, collaborative learning and mobile devices, an educational experience in primary education. Now, I know these people because one of them is in our group in the European Association for Children with Learning Difficulties. And they did this research because it's very, I don't know whether you have found out about it or whether you know about it, that children up to the age of about 11, they are very difficult to collaborate. Okay, now this is a fact. This is human beings, okay? They cannot collaborate. I have to be the first. I'm the better. And if I'm helping you, I'm standing on top. Because this is how human nature is, okay? The child that shows, oh, I'm very good, I'm going to help, he's pretending. Okay, he's pretending. A very good actor. So what they discovered is that ICT provide tools and channels that multiply the possibilities to carry out collaborative projects. It helps, but I have to give you the tools. It favors academic and non-academic. What's the non-academic? It's the fact that it promotes pro-social behaviors. So in terms of communication, it really helps a lot, a lot. Now, why do we use mobiles? Because the mobile instant messaging, it has become the #1, especially in the States, not yet in Europe, not even in England. Why do they choose it? I'm bringing all this information in because you see it's only June 2017, because it's cheap, it's time-consuming, it's user-friendly, and you can, download any kind of appliances. Now, in terms of education, what they discovered was that it was very good when it comes to projects that involve, something like a journal, a dispute, a dialogue, in bringing the children together, structuring, transmitting all this information to each other, and of course as a helpline and as an assessment tool. It helped, especially for older children, not young ones. So it appears that the effect of MIM on improving student cognitive outcomes can be summarized as cautiously optimistic when it came to assessing whether it helped children to expand their ideas when it came to dialogue. Why? Because dialogue, you have to do it lively. You can't do it by writing down SMS messages. A dialogue, it's different from just sending messages. I want to bring in the other research finding. It's this one. Exploring the value of peer feedback in online learning for the provider. You see, that's again 2017, and the only reason I want to concentrate on the feedback is that I'm really terrified of what goes on in this country, with so many schools and teachers adopting the idea without having the training. It's dangerous. I repeat it, and you'll see why. So what teenagers need is help to organize, manage their ideas, find out what the information they have in their hands is enough, getting, started, executing it, which is the main problem. So in actual fact, what they need is coaching. So, this group of people, they thought, okay, the best thing to do it is by peer feedback. I mean, if the same age children, exchange ideas, and so, they can move on. So these coaching factors, for me, they are the vision. Engage students actively in learning, help develop self-management and judgment, strengthen the capacity for self-assessment, help develop subject knowledge, enables children to receive feedback faster and promote social interaction. This is a vision. That's not reality. Okay? Because I think the teachers that, adopt this system, it's what they have read. And they think, oh, that's fantastic. Look what I'm doing. And this is what is happening. Okay, because in order to, what they think it's, in order to do peer feedback or even just feedback, you need to manage, you need to organize, you need to criticize, you need to compare, you need to sit back and think why the other person has thought it that way, and then sit down, write your own research, and then compare it with somebody else, and then write notes about the other person's ideas. So, what are the learning benefits for students who provide and receive online peer feedback? Which cognitive processes does a student use in providing online peer feedback? So these are the key questions which I am putting. So according to the research, peer feedback is a two-way process for the provider and the one who's giving it. So students are not only explaining a text they have read, they are evaluating it against criteria to produce feedback justification. Okay, so yes, this is very good if it's done. They use different cognitive processes. They compare, they question, they modify, they evaluate, they suggest, they plan, they regulate thinking. They think critically. They rehearse their own understanding, connect to new knowledge, explain and take different perspectives. The possible benefits and the cognitive processes are related. The act of providing online peer feedback is in itself a learning activity. So this is fantastic. So you are reading just that and you think, okay, tomorrow we are starting in our classrooms. But feedback has two potential effects. The one for the teacher, okay, because the teacher comes up and says, look, feedback is essential because we have to concentrate on two issues. The one is the learning and the other one is the confidence. Oops. So, for the teacher, what does learning mean? Induce struggle by getting students to think hard about subject content. Because what they have discovered now, it's the more difficult, the project they have to deal with, the better for the child's cognitive processes because it helps it progress. It creates new synapses in the brain, so it's good. What about confidence? It encodes success and gives students the belief they can tackle any problem. That's from the teacher's perspective. But we are not talking about teachers. We are talking about peers. So, providing peer online feedback that leads to learning doesn't come naturally, and it's rather difficult for students to do. Have you seen adolescents, how they are between each other? Okay, I'm talking about, as a mother, or a grandmother now. Okay, I don't know who, I mean, that's why I said, okay, labs for doing the research is fantastic, because online feedback is mostly visible for all other students and the teacher. Okay? It creates a different social environment. I am correcting everybody's because I'm the best. Okay, this is how they come up, and they're right. And what about original ideas? What if my idea it's so different that you cannot relate to it? And you cannot understand why I perceived it that way. So, it creates a different social environment, different from a face-to-face. And what about the mixed ability platforms and learning difficulties of all sorts? Has anybody taken on board these issues? What about the report which is written, or the task which was written, and it's full of spelling errors, because he doesn't even know which word was right and which word to choose? What about the one who's, in the autism spectrum and he cannot read anything which is misspelled? So, why do we promote peer feedback if we don't know anything about it? And anyway, one has to consider the competing for likes, because that's the end of the day. Did you like it? Okay. Social and learning interactions between students are a major factor in how they develop, learn, and grow at the neurological level. Okay. Pre-adolescents and adolescents are very sensitive to any kind of criticism. Look at our teachers. Who is assessed? Who is allowing peer feedback? How many teachers say, could you please come and, stay with me while I'm giving the lesson and give me some guidelines where I'm doing the right job? Do you know any such teacher in this country? No. How are you really pushing such a thing? How? I'm not against anybody. I'm just, putting questions. So, online means exposure to anyone. It means exposure of one's work between a large number of people and for them to occur all day, every day. This means that everything they have done can be shared with others at the press of a button. The positive feelings gained, this is information we know. Why do we press the button for likes? Because our dopamine system needs it, neurological, neurotransmitters, okay? So what happens then with the online academic? Negative feedback. Therefore, online learning and online peer feedback, e-learning platforms are still a challenge for most teachers, and this is not only because of the technology itself. It has to do with the personality. I've been in classrooms in England where a teacher says to me, no, I'm not using any electronic devices. And I said, why? And he said to me, well, exactly because it's everywhere else, and I want to create a different environment in my classroom, in my time. And then you have somebody else that says, no, this is the age of, the electronic age. This is what I'm going to give to the children because it's the best way they are going to get it. So they are both right. So it's up to me. To get the best from ICT for education, we need to start with the requirements of education in terms of both learner and teacher needs. Both these aspects, yeah, okay. Have I got 5 minutes? Okay. Thank you. That's why we wasted time, really. I started late because of it. Nothing we can do. No. Thanks very, very much. Thank you.